Today what I'm doing is I'm taking the cigarette lighter and the power supply, the cigarette lighter, right? And I'm gonna rewire them on this 1998 Jeep Grand Cherokee ZJ. I'm gonna rewire them to only be switched to the ignition key, right? So that they're not constantly on, because they're constantly on and I wanna leave my stuff plugged in. And it's not gonna be that hard. But basically, to start off, all you really have to do, first thing I would suggest is there's 2 screws down here. Here, I'll grab that. There's 2 screws down here that hold this fuse box cover on. One, you can see the first one, you can see the second one, boom, right? So you take those screws out and then you work this off of that bolt right there, and that'll pop off so you have access to the fuse panel. You can see where you're gonna run your wire. Now, the thing I would do from there is I would get this you can get it at Walmart, you can get it at AutoZone. It's a mini-sized fuse tap. Busman fuse tap, so you can run an extra wire for a circuit off of any fuse you want. So in this case, I was going to do the switched fuse for the radio. So when the radio's on, the power supply is on, right? Easy enough. I believe that's the top left 10 amp fuse that you see there, but I'm going to experiment with it. So I have that pulled off to be able to route this, and you're going to need some 16, maybe 18 gauge wire to route as a power supply. And so you're going to take that off, you're going to take the glove box off, and that's going to entail some screws up here, as you can see. 4, 5 screws at the top. I think there's 4 on the bottom under this bar here, that chassis bar. There's 4 under the bottom there, and then there's 1 on the other side. I don't know if I can show it without moving around too much, but there's 1 screw on that side, and then there's going to be 2 screws that hold in this center cubby, boom, boom, and another 2 that hold it here, boom, boom, right? So those 4 screws on this one and all the screws I just mentioned on that one, and they're going to come out as one piece. It's going to be clipped in right here, so be careful with that, right? It's going to be clipped in right there, and they're going to be connected, but there are 2 screws holding them together right here that you can take out to make them a little bit more easy to port, so you can get this out. And then these are just pull and push off spade connectors right here, right? So nothing too crazy to get these off. There's a bulb running to here for that courtesy light in the ashtray, and then there's a wire that runs for the bulb that illuminates the ring around the cigarette lighter. The next thing you're going to want to do is this little cubby has 3 screws on it. And it's actually going to help you a lot if you take this out. It's right behind the, that assembly that we already pulled, because it's going to show you where this wiring loom for the cigarette lighter actually comes out at right here. So it runs back through here and down through that hole, but it hides back here. And this is going to make it way easier to pull the wiring loom out like this, because you're going to have space to do all your crimping. So it's got 2 clips on the side. You kind of pull out like that, and then it'll come out. So there's the loom right there, or the connector for the loom, and it rides back here. So if you see how my finger is, that's how the wire is supposed to go back through it. But this is just so we can do all of our wiring with more space. What we're doing to get the power and the ground for these is we're running an add a fuse tap to the radio, not the memory wire, but the ignition radio wire, or the ignition connected radio wire. I'm running it up, back along through here, then through the back and out the same hole that the loom came out of, right? And then for the positive, I'm running 1 positive directly. These are spade connectors, so there's the positive. Positive is on the bottom, straight up and down, and then the left to right are the negatives, right? But all these negatives are loomed together, right? So underneath this, I already peeled the wire off, but they're soldered together on this end. So what I'm doing is I took all the positives out of this connector, right? All the positive ones I took out of that connector by removing that red bridge with those side pins. Remove the red bridge, and then I de-pinned them, and I just took them out, and now I have access to them like this, right? They each need their own tap onto this wire to be ran in parallel, so they each get 12 volts, right? So I'm giving 1 directly, and then I'm gonna tap a second one. But what that's gonna look like is you just run a positive tap or a T-tap or whatever you wanna use, and then reconnect it to down here, right? So you're gonna have a total of 3 positive wires, 1 for the lighting right here, one for the cigarette lighter, and one for the power supply. And the one for the lighting is connected with it's split on the wire, and then it's soldered down in here like the negative, like the ground wires are for this light as well. So you really only need to do this part. So we're gonna tap that wire onto here next, and then we're gonna dress it all up and put it away. But we can borrow the old ground to make this a lot simpler. The positive, positive on the bottom, negative on the top. Once you get it tapped and you get it's positive on the bottom, negative on the top. Once you get everything grounded and wire tapped into the wire, you can tuck the wire back through, plug the loom back in, and then dress it all up, and it'll be connected to ignition power. And the easiest way to take it out and put it in is to just leave the key in the run position, put your foot on the brake, my buddy did it for me, and move the shifter back, just so you have more room here. And then the order of putting everything back together is gonna be this box. Then you're gonna reconnect the glove box to these two screw points here, and then you're gonna clip everything back into place.